For most men, there is something almost invisible. What makes a woman think about you is not your presence. It's the absence you leave behind. There exists a psychological trigger so precise, so ruthless, and so powerfully effective that once activated, even while she's trying to move on with her life, her mind keeps coming back to you. Most men do the exact opposite. They smother, they insist, they overexpose themselves, they repeat themselves endlessly. The more they do it, the more predictable, transparent, and forgettable they become. A man doesn't disappear from a woman's life because she lost interest. He disappears because he filled a space that was supposed to remain empty. The same root causes the biggest difficulty men face. You talk, you invest, you show interest, you do everything you believe is necessary, and 2 days later it feels like you've vanished into thin air. She replies less, turns cold, stops the conversation, and you start believing you did something wrong. But the mistake was never in what you said. The mistake was trying to be remembered through constant presence. The female mind doesn't work that way. Desire doesn't grow with excess. It grows with voids, intervals, and the feeling that there is always something more just out of reach. Carl Jung explained this long before modern studies. Every human psyche carries a symbolic image made of their own projections. Jung called it the Imago. One of his most crucial statements perfectly describes this video. The psyche cannot tolerate empty spaces. It fills them with projections. This means that when you talk less, reveal less, or allow yourself to remain a mystery, her mind starts working for you. It fills the void, creates meaning, imagines intentions, and keeps thinking about you precisely because something remains unresolved. It's that unfinished piece that traps her. Women obsess over men who trigger projection, not men who reveal everything. When you lay yourself completely bare, you close the image. When you remain partially hidden, she continues processing you mentally. It becomes a flame that never dies out, because you didn't throw all the fuel on at once. Her mind returns to you not by choice, but by psychological necessity. It's not a conscious decision. It's a mechanism. Modern science confirms what Jung already knew. In 2008, researchers at the University of British Columbia showed that emotional uncertainty increases activity in the prefrontal cortex. In other words, the less certainty you give about your emotional state, the harder her brain works to interpret you. Controlled uncertainty is a neural trigger. When the brain region responsible for analysis and prediction keeps firing over and over, thinking about you becomes involuntary and repetitive. This video will teach you the most ruthless and effective psychological tool to occupy a woman's mind, the arousing doubt trigger. This is not childish games, cheap manipulation, or emotional theatrics. It's understanding that the human mind becomes addicted to what remains unsolved. It's making her think about you without chasing, insisting, or burning yourself out. By the end of this video, you will know the exact method to create permanent mental presence in a woman's mind, without exaggeration, without neediness, and without sacrificing your dignity. Because the man who controls the void controls memory, and the man who controls memory controls attraction. The emotional mistake that makes men forgettable is predictability. Nothing erases a man from a woman's mind faster than being predictable. The average man believes he will be remembered by always being there, always available, always explaining himself. He confuses consistency with relevance. But in the female psyche, predictability equals emotional closure. Once she feels she fully understands you, your reactions are obvious, your energy is linear. Her mind closes the mental loop. Once it's closed, it's never reopened. Step 1 is understanding this. You are forgotten because you are too easy to understand. Start noticing when you over-explain. Every extra justification kills a projection that could have kept you alive in her mind. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. The human brain clings far more to what is unfinished than to what is solved. When you give everything emotionally, state your interest clearly, reply instantly, or declare your intentions without hesitation, you close the loop. She no longer needs to think about you because there's nothing left to interpret. Everything has already been said, felt, and made fully accessible. The counter-intuitive solution: leave interactions open. Leave conversations unfinished, pulsing, unresolved. Keep her mind active. Let it try to close the loop on its own. Female desire grows in intervals, silence, pauses, and interruptions. The female mind is analytical, sensory, and symbolic. It desires what requires interpretation, not what is served on a platter. It remembers the interrupted far more than the completed. Fragments matter. Strategic emotional micro-interruptions matter even more. Pulling attention away at the right moment, a suspended comment, a reaction that doesn't solve everything. These are not manipulation. They are leaving space for her engagement. Science backs this up. In 2005, Harvard researchers showed that emotional interruptions increase memory retention by 40%. The mind fixates on the peak of an emotional stimulus, especially when it remains incomplete. Apply this both online and in person. End conversations at the exact moment she's most engaged, right after you made her laugh or shared a deep glance. Cut it off naturally, like a man who has a full life. Keep the tone soft, never defensive. 3 practical lines that work perfectly. I have to go now, but I really liked what you said. We'll continue later. I've gotta run. This thought is staying with me. Talk soon. I have to go, but that felt good. Each one is a soft interruption, a symbolic pause, and an emotional seed. This is how you stop being forgotten. This is how you exist in her mind, even when you're physically absent. Being completely clear about your intentions kills mystery. It erases projection and solves the riddle. When she knows for sure that you're fully interested, available, and emotionally surrendered, the chase ends for her. The hidden mistake, revealing intentions too early. Directness and transparency work against you because they remove the space where desire grows. The key is to express your presence without giving certainty. Show up, but don't show everything. Leave signals, not conclusions. Biology reinforces this. The strongest trigger in her brain is dopamine, driven uncertainty from intermittent rewards. A predictable man satisfies her chemistry. A man who replaces intensity with absence activates the internal system that makes her mentally revisit you. Practical application. Regulate your presence. Don't disappear. Disappearing is childish and defensive. Regulating presence is strategic. Create an asymmetrical rhythm. Appear intentionally, then withdraw. Be actively engaged at times, subtly absent at others. This contrast triggers her inner pursuit. Disappearing turns you into a cheap game. Modulating presence turns you into a riddle. Neuroscience confirms this emotional dance. In 2019, researchers at Rockefeller University showed that intermittent emotional patterns activate brain regions linked to anticipation and desire. Non-linear presence, making her wait, imagine, and try to predict you builds memory. Online, apply microvariations, reply at different speeds, show different levels of attention, shift energy. This asymmetry leaves a lasting imprint. To solidify it, create a psychological signature, a gesture, tone, pause, look, or phrase that carries your emotional identity. Repeat it consistently. It becomes your mark and plants invisible roots. If you want to turn this into real power, master the psychological mechanisms that create desire, tension, and constant mental presence. Learn the code of seduction, an advanced training program on psychology, neuroscience, and social dynamics that you will never find free online. Link in the description and pinned comment. This knowledge separates ordinary men from those who remain in a woman's mind even in their absence. The cruel trick is simple. Stop trying to convince. Convincing creates resistance. Impact creates memory. A man who tries to prove himself signals neediness. A man who leaves an impact signals power. Your power lies in what your silence implies. Replace explanation with atmosphere, insistence with presence. Emotional contrasts, subtle shifts, and micro-opposites create lasting bonds in memory. It's not intensity that captivates, it's contrast. Use the two-tempo approach. Sometimes slow your voice and deepen your gaze. Sometimes relax and pull back. This creates an emotional texture she keeps revisiting. Science proves it. The brain naturally revisits emotional contrasts. In person, use micro-contrasts. Change body angle, pause length, or voice tone. They leave traces even when you're far away. Create a striking, intense moment. An intense phrase, unexpected look, or deep comment, and then interrupt calmly, like a man with priorities. Don't vanish suddenly. Her brain will create a mental loop trying to complete the unfinished business. Phrases like "I'll tell you the rest later," "keep that thought," or "I have to go, but I like this," leave doors open. Everything unfinished gets revisited. Here's the ruthless trick. No forcing, no begging, no convincing. Just bury yourself in her imagination. Once you're inside her imagination, you stop chasing. She starts doing it for you. Women, follow the man who creates meaning. Key point: master the psychological space you occupy. Use voids, pauses, contrasts, and symbols. Stop competing with other men. Compete with her imagination. That's where desire is born, interest grows, and you become unforgettable. Nietzsche summed it up perfectly. Everything deep loves the mask. Women obsess over the man who combines depth with calculated unpredictability, not the blatantly predictable one. The mask is not fakery. It is partial revealed depth. It keeps you alive in her mind. The strategies here: unfinished conversations, psychological signatures, mental echoes, symbolic cracks she fills with projection, are stronger than any logic, words, or scripted line. You're not impressing. You're creating meaning. The path is open. Leave neediness behind. Embrace emotional authority. The needy man seeks attention. The grounded man creates impact. The needy man hopes to be remembered. The grounded man becomes unforgettable. Control the rhythm, the pause, and the presence. Understand that what fascinates is not intensity, it's depth. Replace excess with precision. Stop over-explaining. Reveal only what matters. You now possess a psychological map very few men have. How to create projection, voids, and emotional contrasts. And most importantly, how to build a presence that doesn't depend on physical proximity. This is power, maturity, and refined masculine strategy. The female mind doesn't chase what is obvious. It chases the riddle. Become the riddle. If you want to fully master these principles and learn advanced seduction techniques based on psychology, neuroscience, and social dynamics that you will never find for free on the internet, get access the code of seduction. You'll learn to leave marks, dominate, and attract effortlessly. Link in the description and pinned comment.